Hi folks, Six Slices here. I'm just doing a little quick review of this. This is Spyderco Urban. Now, I'm a knife collector who has no appreciation of Spyderco knives whatsoever. They just do nothing for me, never have. To that end, I've only ever owned 3 and I only own 2 now. Other than the Urban, the other one I own is this tiny little thing that I bought for my wife when she used to work in a supermarket, and she used to use it for opening, unsealing the plastic on cases of tins and things. It's a little lock back. It's an integral design, single moulding of FRN or whatever the plastic was called then, half serrated blade. All it says on it is Spyderco, and on this side it says Seki Japan actually. Yes. So yes, Seki Japan, and a little Spyderco symbol on the handle. It's a pinned design, literally 2 pins, a tiny little blade, and I've had that about 20 years, maybe more. I bought the UKPK Heine Haynes edition, which I really didn't like, and I know it's immensely popular and so many people think it's wonderful. I just don't. I didn't like the G10 scales. I thought they were just too grippy. It didn't go nicely in and out of your pocket. I didn't find it comfortable to hold. So somebody else was looking for one and I passed it on, and I passed it on for what I paid for it. So in some ways I was happy I didn't wash my hands without making a loss, but I probably could have made a profit because it did seem to be incredibly popular. Anyway, not really looking at that little one. I don't even know what that's called. If anybody does have a name for that or know anything about its history, I'd be interested, because as I say, I've had it a long time. This one I got back at Christmas. I was buying some knives for people, and I bought the Squeak in pink for my wife and my daughter. I bought one of these for my son-in-law, and I bought something else for my son. So I kept this one back, just because I don't really have a Spyderco in my collection. This is a UK-friendly knife. It's a pure slip joint. I believe it has an internal spring rather than that back spring being the spring, but I don't know that for certain. What allows this into my collection is that I try not to buy American knives, because I know that if I went down that particular rabbit hole, I'd end up buying hundreds of GECs and Shatton Morgans and Queens and Camilluses and so on, and I would be, bankrupt within no time. So I like to buy British knives. Anything British can get into my collection, pretty much. Something reasonably attractive. European knives and Japanese knives. Now, I have a few Japanese knives, and that Seki City one gets to stay because it's Japanese. This particular one was made in Italy. In some ways that's probably obvious because, as it says on there, I don't know if it's readable, but it says Spyderco N690 CO. It's N690 with a bit of cobalt in it, which is a competent steel, but it's very common of Italian knives. My Sonzo is made of it, but both my Extrema Ratio knives are made of it. I'm trying to think what else. I think the Fox Series is actually N690. You tend to either get N690 or what's it called, N390, which is 20 CV, all but different manufacturers. But manufacturers made it. Anyway, this is a little knife. It has this kind of triangular blade shape, which I suppose is by ergonomics. It's got the finger choil, which helps with the fact it's non-locking. you know, that no way that can ever unlock any. But to be honest, it's a pretty stiff lock anyway. You know, it locks up pretty firmly. It's probably one hand openable, but not by me because it's far too stiff and I don't have the strength in my fingers. In terms of its size, by ruler, we're talking about 2.5 inches for the blade, cutting edge 2.25 maybe, something like that. Overall, just under 6 inches. So it's a nice little small knife, easily pocketable. Talking of pocketable, it's got the paperclip spring on it, which is reversible. You can see how much I've carried this because I haven't bothered to reverse it for being left-handed. In many ways, I don't think it matters too much with this knife. There's no way that's gonna, you know, it's not gonna fall open in your pocket. The spring is far too strong. So if you pull it out and the blade's not gonna cut you, so it doesn't matter whether it opens back into the seam of your trousers or into the pocket. And it's two-handed opening anyway, so you've got to manipulate it. It's not something that you can, you know, you can't just pull it out of your pocket and just, you know, flick it open. It's not like that. When you're going to open this, you need both your hands. I tell you, it really is a stiff spring, which is good. But when you're opening it, it's not quite as stiff. It's to do with the geometry of the end of the tang. It's got ramps on it to make it easier against the spring when you're opening it, but it doesn't have ramps when you're closing it. So it's easier to open, harder to close, which makes sense. Actually, looking at that spring, it is a proper back spring. I was thinking it had an internal spring like the UKPK, but it's not. So it's a fairly straightforward little knife. Now, Heine Haynes have just done a UK Legal edition of it, which was a horrendous price, north of £100. For that, they've added G10 scales. I don't think they've changed the blade steel, but they might have done. But even if they have, for a simple little pocket folder like this, for a price north of £100, it's just ridiculous. So I'd stick with the FRN version if you're going to buy one at all. And this really is just in my collection because I just kind of feel that if you've got a collection of the size of mine, you really have to have an example of a Spyderco, if only to remind you why you don't want a collection of Spyderco knives. And this is these are my token Spydercos for the collection. I doubt I'll be buying any more, but well, you never know. Never say never. Anyway, nice and sharp, moderate steel, good stiff action, fits in the pocket well, fits in the hand quite well for considering its size. The finger trial helps. And if this is your thing, then good luck to you. You probably won't go wrong with it. I just can't really warm to it. It ain't pretty, and that, I suppose, is going to be my defining judgment on it. You know, I would much rather have a zip slip if I'm going to have a modern folder in my pocket, and this is price-wise very comparable to the HH Urban, and this is S35VN and titanium. I'm going to take this every time, absolutely. Even if it's very slightly more, I'm going to take this. You've got the finger trial, you've got better steel, you've got titanium handles. It looks $1 million. I always think this knife was sold cheap, really. Certainly. I mean, this in its current format is about 70 quid. Is that reasonable? I don't know. I really don't. It's hard to justify it to me. Oh, size comparator, by the way, just for my sort of standard Swiss Army knife. You'll see it's very slightly longer, not a lot in it, an extra 1/4 inch on each of the handle and the blade, but obviously it's much broader, and it's also the same token, it's much thinner. And it's obviously lighter as well. So that fits in your pocket perhaps more easily than the Swiss Army knife, and it's got a clip if that's your thing. But size-wise, that's where you're at. Okay, so that was short and sweet, but if you like the stuff, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more of it, please subscribe and remember to ring the bell if you want to get notifications. Thank you very much. Bye.